Welcome to The Economy magazine at I-24 News, where we provide a daily view on the world markets and global economy. I'm Natalie Ehrlich. Well, coming up today, in national elections, Poland chooses the Conservatives. The Eurosceptic Law and Justice Party is expected to have enough seats to govern alone, something Poland hasn't seen in 26 years. And olives remain a staple of the Palestinian economy. The locals anticipate a drop this year in olive oil production, amid fears that their makeshift village will be forced to relocate. Let's start now with headlines. After another round of decisive moves by China over the weekend, Asian stocks mostly advanced on Monday. Japan's Nikkei moved up 0.65%. China's Shanghai also higher, some 0.53%, and the Hang Seng sliding 0.15%. European equities, by contrast, opened lower on Monday. By the afternoon, London's FTSE was down 0.03%, Germany's DAX up 0.20%, and France's CAC slid down 0.45%. U.S. Dow futures also pointed to a lower open. In an effort to stymie China's economic slowdown, Beijing scrapped a ceiling on deposit rates over the weekend. The move is considered risky, boosting the role of the markets in the economy, and signals yet another bold measure by Premier Li Keqiang to find new economic engines of growth. The central bank also warned that banks which use high interest rates to attract deposits would be disciplined, while those with appropriate interest rate pricing will benefit.
Through the reform during the past 20 years, we have liberalized the prices of most products in the market. Previously, we had been keeping the deposit rate cap, and this time the reform for scrapping the upper limit should be viewed as a milestone.
A number of key elections to watch worldwide. In Argentina, no clear winner with center-left candidate Daniel Scioli and pro-business opposition leader Mauricio Macri neck and neck. In Poland, conservatives secured a decisive victory with Eurosceptic Party leader Jarosław Kaczynski. Now, the Ivory Coast held its first post-war presidential poll, likely to give the incumbent president, Alassane Ouattara, a second term. And in Congo, a referendum on a third term for its leader was marked by low turnout. By contrast, in Haiti, reported high turnout as well as calm, though results won't be known for a few months. Well, European and Balkan leaders have agreed now to a 17-point plan to cooperate on managing flows of migrants through the Balkan Peninsula. Among the measures agreed upon at a meeting in Brussels on Sunday, the establishment of 100,000 reception centers along the route from Greece to Germany. Now, half would be located in Greece and the other half in countries in the north. The UN Refugee Agency would help establish those centers.
There is no miracle solution. Shutting the borders is not a long-term solution. The solution is to behave as Europeans with solidarity and responsibility by agreeing to join our legislative, financial, and operational policies.
And the political turmoil between Russia and Ukraine further exhibited in the economic sector over the weekend. Direct flights between Ukraine and Russia were grounded Sunday as tensions between the ex-Soviet neighbors continue to rise. Russia and Ukraine's long history of animosity boiled over in the winter of 2013, which saw the Kremlin-backed president ousted and a new pro-West leadership take helm in Kiev. This latest trade war could affect thousands of families. In national elections, Poland swings to the political right, also now marking the first time since democracy was restored to the country that a single party has won enough seats now to govern alone.
Polish media call it an overwhelming victory for the Law and Justice Party in the country's parliamentary elections. The Conservative and Eurosceptic Party won nearly 40% of the votes. The win should yield around 240 of the 460 parliamentary seats, allowing for the party to bypass coalition talks.
The law will be respected, we will pursue the truth. But no revenge, no negative emotions, no personal games or personal settling of scores will be happening. There will be no kicking of those who have fallen, even if they are responsible for their own fall and deserved it.
The outgoing Prime Minister conceded defeat while insisting on a positive assessment of her center-right party. 8 years of uninterrupted growth, which was at 3.5% in 2014, and 3.6% aimed at this year. On the jobs front, a 10% unemployment rate for 2013 is now just under 8%.
We didn't waste the last 8 years. Poland today is much better than it was 8 years ago. Poland is a country that has made economic progress. Unemployment is down to single digits. This is the Poland we leave to the election winners.
The numbers show a rise in living standards, but poor distribution of wealth. In Poland, GDP per capita is less than 70% of the EU average. The average household income barely reaches 900 euros per month.
The vast majority of Poles are simple workers. Today they expect their rights to be respected and, above all, for their wages to rise, because wages in Poland are too low in relation to our GDP.
To remedy these inequalities, party chair Jaroslaw Kaczynski promised to cut taxes and increase family allowances, a program to be carried by Beata Szydło, the vice chair to be named incoming prime minister. Meanwhile, relations between the victorious party and the rest of Europe are delicate.
And our reporter Daniel Roth recently traveled to the West Bank to view a major staple of the Palestinian economy, olives.
The olive harvest holds considerable importance in Palestinian society, and in the 350-person Palestinian village of Susia in the West Bank, the olive is a central facet of life. Despite a rise in violence and ongoing attacks on Susia residents and on olive trees by neighboring settlers, the olive harvest is a staple event. Every year during the autumn months, Palestinian families and communities, as well as friends, come together to shake the trees down and gather their olives.
طبعا الزيتون هو ضروري جدا للفلسطينيين اولا كمان هو في المعتقدات.
The Palestinian economy relies greatly on the production of olive oil. In this respect, Susia village is an important building block. Depending on the rate of production, some of the olive oil is designed for sale and some for our own use. This year, we're expecting to see a drop in production, especially because of the continued attack by settlers on our trees, some of which are 35 years old, and this leads to reduced production and a reduction in the quality of olive oil.
The olive is a symbol of peace and connection to land in what the World Bank has described as a highly agricultural economy. According to the World Bank, up to 45% of cultivated land in Palestinian territories hold olive trees, and 15 to 19% of agricultural output can come from olives. The majority of the olives go into making olive oil. Good yields and bad alternate by year, and according to Oxfam, the average output was 17,000 tons for the years between 2001 and 2009. Around 100,000 families look to the olive, which is primarily sold in local markets, for livelihood, according to the World Bank report. Beyond its economic importance, the olive is a fundamental part of Palestinian culture.
The season of olive picking is a blessing to us. It's our livelihood. The olive tree is blessed by Allah. But this year, the season of olive picking was met with fear and anxiety. We can't even access the trees and check up on them. We can't predict what the settlers will do to us. And also the IDF. They operate together. There is no safety.
After finding the remains of an ancient synagogue, Israeli authorities have expelled Susia's residents twice from their land since 1986, and they've moved on to different portions of their agricultural land since then. Israeli authorities maintain that the village, which sits on the residents' private land, was built without the necessary permits inside Area C, which is under full Israeli civil and military control. Israel's High Court recently upheld that position and denied a request for an injunction to stop the demolition orders. Even as they face the possibility of another expulsion, agriculture, from livestock to honey making, a jar of which goes for 50 shekels, forms the center of the village's economic life. The risk in reality here has been a rallying point for many over the years in joining Palestinian communities in the harvest.
Yeah, I'm here to stand in solidarity with the Palestinians who live under occupation by Israeli military rule. We were pulling the olives off the tree, and we did that for a little while. And, we were talking while we were doing it. And then at a certain point, we all took a break, and, we all sat down and ate some pita with some olive oil, and drank some tea, and then went back to work.
The olive remains central to Palestinian life, and the olive harvest remains a symbol of the relationships between the people here. This is A. Daniel Roth in the Palestinian village of Susia for I-24 News.
For further insight now, we are joined on set by Daniel Roth and also Esther Mack and Isaac Hates-Rose, both volunteers on the olive harvest last week with a group called Center for Jewish Nonviolence. Thank you all very much for being with us today.
Thanks for having us.
So, Esther, this was your first time volunteering. Tell us, what was your experience like?
Well, I came out to the village of Susia with the group, the Center for Jewish Nonviolence, and didn't really know what to expect. I had heard a little bit about how the Palestinian olive harvest comes regularly under attack by nearby settlers, and wanted to see for myself. So what we did is we came, and there were about 10 of us. We harvested olives from the trees. There spread tarps under the trees to collect the olives to make it easier to then move them into the cloth bags. And we got a lot of the harvest done, us and other groups that come or had come, such that by the time we were done, it meant that those trees were no longer at risk from the settlers.
Right. So you got to see how this process comes about. Interesting.
Yes. So the Israeli authorities in occupied territory, the Kogat as they're known, have said that Susia is a gathering of illegal houses next to the archaeological site of Susia. It has been expanded through the years despite the issuance of warrants. And I actually had a chance to be a part of some of the planning process of this volunteer group, to be on some of those phone calls. And it's clear that there are differing opinions about what's legal, who's supposed to be there. But given the army, the Israeli Authority point of view, given the expectations when the planning was taking place, what about the reality on the ground can you point to that may tell us something about what might lead to a sustainable solution?
Well, Daniel, I think, as you alluded to by quoting Kogat, there's a belief amongst the Israeli establishment, the security authorities, that Susia doesn't exist. And I find it hard to even want to honor that statement by responding to it. As you know, you're on the ground there. There are a collection of families. There's around 340 people live in Susia, 140 of whom are children, and all of them should have access to basic human rights and should be guaranteed access to infrastructure, safety, basic dignity under the responsibility of the current occupier, the Israeli government. One short-term way to shift the reality in Susia for viewers at home, for people all over the world, for Israelis and Palestinians, is to support fundraising efforts for the village and other communities in the South Hebron Hills of the occupied West Bank. For example, our group, the Center for Jewish Nonviolence, is in the midst of an online Indiegogo campaign, which can be reached through our Facebook page. I think that shows just how dire the situation is for a community like Susia, which is under a complete demolition threat, that their ability to exist and their ability to resist the oppressive policies of occupation has to be supported by Jews from all over the world, from North America and Europe. In the medium term, if the state could cease its belligerent behavior towards this community in the South Hebron Hills, acknowledge that it's not a temporary agricultural gathering, but the homes of these families all year round, that would, you would hope, lead to a change in policies. And in the long term, both for the economy and the mental and emotional health of every person there, young and old, I don't think there is a sustainable way to strengthen an economy when it lives under military rule of a foreign population.
Well, speaking of the economy here, how important are the olives to the Palestinians who live there?
The olives, in fact, the agricultural land there, olive trees take up about 51% of the arable land, and the products that they make from the olive harvest, the olive oil, and to a lesser extent the pickled olives, make up about 25% of the income for Palestinians who live in the West Bank.
All right, and another allegation here is that some of the settlers who live nearby provoke this, make this area vulnerable, their economy vulnerable here.
Absolutely, specifically the olive sector, but I would say that surrounding settlements make many aspects of life for the Palestinian residents of Susia vulnerable. I'd reference a weekend in the spring, actually, when an allied group of the Center for Jewish Nonviolence, a group of activists on the ground in Israel-Palestine by the name of All That's Left, spent a weekend doing work in solidarity in Susia, where over 50 internationals bore first-hand witness to Nasser Nawaja, one of the primary activists and organizers in Susia, being pelted with stones by settlers from the area who were attempting to harm the trees with axes and hatchets.
All right.
It's a regular
thank you so much for bringing up the issue to our attention. We appreciate all your personal perspectives on the ground as volunteers, and of course, Daniel Roth's reporting. I'm Natalie Ehrlich, live from our studios. Thank you very much for watching, and check out our website. It's i24news.tv.